Anyway, I thought it was a little harsh. I think wrestling is a really harsh way, right?
My
Like,
my neck thinks so too. I still have a hard time moving my neck, like at
well,
all.
well, Dave had a much bigger problem than I did around the safety of it. I just
Mm.
think in general, it's like, all right, like, you know what I mean? I mean,
I will say, and I kind of preferred the Spartan rules of wrestling over these rules because I feel like the Spartan rules were just like it was just takedowns or pushing out. If you have a background in wrestling in hand to hand combat, like easy, and if you don't, there's still like a chance. Like it's a little equalizing, but still, if you have experience, you're at a huge disadvantage or at a huge advantage. But this one, like allowing, I don't know, it made it it very much varied the people that have experience are like not automatically, but like they're going to really crush and hurt people, and people that don't like are gonna get hurt. So yeah,
so if you were going to change anything, that's what you would change.
a little bit. I think also I don't know. I think I'm obviously like biased towards it because like that just sounded better to me. But I think from a unbiased point, I think that would have been a better call. But it makes for a more interesting thing to watch if everybody's getting smashed and choked. So I don't know.
Sorry. Um, so I have to ask you, uh, there was a bit of controversy after the event with you and Katie. So I
Yeah.
just want to get, I guess, your feelings on it, or did you know what happened in the moment?
Yeah, no, I had no idea what happened in the moment, but literally, I mean, as soon as we were finished, everybody's commenting and texting and sending stuff. I guess there was a point where, and looking at the pictures, I'm like, I had almost flipped her out, and she put her hand out to like control it, and then was able to come in and push me out. And they were all like, you should contest it, you should fight it, and I was like, I don't know, like it's already over. She won. Well, I did talk to the cadre about it, and the call that I accepted their call, um, and I'm still a little. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not gonna like, but I feel a little unsure about it. Basically, what they said was like in jujitsu and in wrestling, it would not have been a sandbag ring. It would have just been a painted line, and so she would have already pushed me out. And then the other thing that, and I was like, okay, but we have a sandbag ring.
And
And
if
then the other,
if my uncle, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. I mean, that's like, what is that?
Do you know,
Tell me.
if it had like ham in it, it's
No.
it's closer.
No.
It's closer to a British carbonara.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
If my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike. You know what? You know what? It doesn't make any sense what you said. It's a different recipe.
What is that?
but that was, they said it's a jujitsu wrestling style event. Anyways, and then the other thing they said was that also in jujitsu wrestling, it's about who has control, and she was the one that was in control at that point. I would argue that she gained control by placing her hand out. That helped her to gain control, but she was in control, and I think, I mean, for what they were looking for, they weren't too worried about that. They were more worried about who was in control. So.
I would have much rather they just said, we missed it, I'm sorry, than that. That's personally, just, this is me. This is not Chris. That's really stupid.
Yeah.
Well, normally there's a painted line. I mean, okay. You know what I mean? Like normally,
that's not what we were working with.
Normally a rope would be thicker or thinner, or normally the obstacles don't look like that. Normally at a savage race, you don't have two obstacles connected to each other. So let's treat it like that.
Yeah. The other thing do you finish?
No, well, I want to say what I was told. Okay. So, the internet does what the internet does. People message me because I'm, of course, the big media conglomerate that's not afraid to say things. Big Bad Matt. And they were like, this happened, and they're deleting comments, and I'm like, hang on, let's try to find out what happened. Like, let's do some. And then I was told that they did give you a chance, that they said to you, we can do it over, but everyone had already gone, and you were like, you know what, let's call it a day, which to me is great if that's what they actually did, but it sounds like that's not what they did.
Well, and then the other thing they said is umpires make bad calls all the time. You can't just redo it. But then they did say, like, the only thing we could do is ask her if, like, offer her a rematch for it. And I was like, that's a little extreme. Like, if this had happened, like, right then, but it was literally like everything was done, everybody was over, and I was like, whatever. Like,
Right.
I think they should have, it would have been cool if in the moment they were like, this was an iffy call, go again. That would have been great. But again, it was like, I liked their answer more of like, sorry, we made a bad call.
Right, umpires
We
miss.
could
Like,
try to-
I'm fine with that. Not
Yeah.
well. If we were playing in the Mile High City, it would have been a strike. Like that's.
I did
that's-
not like their explanations. I was like,
Yeah, that's
okay, I see what you're saying, but
right.
yeah.
That's. Yeah. Hope you're enjoying this chat with Chris Rogloski. We've got so many more fantastic interviews for you to check out right here on our YouTube and the podcast. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, there are links below. Also, do you know that we have a Patreon? Patreon members get to be in the inner circle, the secret club, the Cool Kids Club, and you can get in for as little as $2 a month. We hope you join us. Thank you for enjoying these videos. Also, do the like and subscribe thing. People say it all the time. You think, oh, that's so annoying. It means something. Trust me, it means something. Like and subscribe. Back to Chris. Away we go. If we look at overall the event, what I've heard from multiple athletes, okay, that I've talked to so far, super well organized. They had refs following you guys everywhere, doing everything, you know, military precision, as it were. They are military guys. So overall, you know, I would give the event high marks.
100%. I completely agree with that. Yeah. Even the way they handled that, I was like, you know what? Like, it was a good weekend, and it is.
I mean, I think people want to hear like the comparisons between Spartan games and
It's hard not to. It's hard not to compare, especially because we just saw the last episode come out. I watched most of it on like Thursday, and then
Right.
going into this, it was like, wow.
So we don't have to spend our entire time kicking dirt on Spartan because we do plenty of that. But just, do you want to give just some, I don't know, basic differences?
Yeah, just so, it was so unorganized and so all over the place. It really gave you like
what was
the Spartan games, where
Okay.
like they hadn't even thought this through. And every time we came into an event and they started talking about it, it was like, have y'all ever tried this? Have you ever seen this done before? Like, and then we'd get into it and they were like, oh, like a little bit of indecision here and there. And I also, the point system, I was not a fan of the way the Spartan did their point system because, and I think for competition, if we're talking about like, this is a competition, it takes out so much of the competition so quickly, because if you get that 0 points, you're out. Like, there's essentially no coming back from that, especially if you get more than one of them. And I liked how this was, if you're first, you get 1 point. If you're second, you get 2 points. It keeps everything really close, and it actually keeps everybody in the competition. Even if it's like, okay, well, you're not placing very well. Well, this is my event. I could get first in this. Like, and it would be a huge advantage to you.
Even for the people at the bottom, if they're getting low points, they can have like, you know, the guy that won the overhead, right? I don't know how he did the rest of the week.
They can have a breakthrough event.
Right. I don't know how well he did the rest of the weekend, but he fucking won that one. You know, Olaf won the carry, and for people who don't know Olaf, by the way, Olaf is a fucking legend. Olaf is OOG Death Racer, OOG Go Ruck guy. Like, he's done a lot of really hard stuff. He's a really good dude. He's a fucking genius. He's like literally a scientist. So that's who Olaf is.
Yeah. He was cool. He was impressive.
No, he's right. And this is 10 years later. You know what I mean? He did all this stuff in 12 and 13. But before, I'm trying to think who I would compare him to now. I really can't compare him to anybody. He's awesome. Anyway, very different kind of dude. Yeah, I think that's definitely, you know, we said that after the first 2 episodes came out. It's like, if you've got a 0 after day 2, how excited are you to be at the Spartan games the rest of the time? You're like, what the fuck am I doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I will say too, even like Spartan games, like, gave us all the rules. Like, we kind of knew what all the events was. And even with that, it was more like they don't have any idea what they're doing. Go Ruck was their whole mystery. Like, and sometimes we're like, are they just making this up? But like, every time they presented an event, they presented something they're doing, it was like, okay, like, that's well explained. That's reasonable. It makes sense. So I thought that was neat, even though they took different approaches. You know, Go Ruck had everything like unknown and nobody knew what was going on, but it was still like well run. Whereas Spartan Games, like, oh, we kind of knew what to expect, and it was a mess.
Would you go back to the Spartan Games?
I probably would. I'm down for anything. I loved the Spartan Games. Like, I thought it was great. It was just kind of a mess, but